All right, so let's summarize. I don't enjoy this popping up every time I scroll up. That's annoying. All right, let's summarize. Barraged by technologies. All right, Luddites, they don't like technology, and they have a broad definition of technology. It does not just mean the tools and the machines themselves. It is also the knowledge of how to use the machines and the social structure around the machines. Right, so in their mind, technology is kind of, and they take a broad view that it's birthed from worldviews. Yeah. Right, that opinions are a big part of technology, right? You only create a tool if you see a use for said tool, right? And you think that this tool is going to be useful and helpful to the world. And they see that these technologies and worldviews, right, they're in conflict with the worldviews. They see those worldviews desperately. They see them change the society, the communities, the life that they live. Right? And I've seen that as typical of traditionalists, right?
Just breathe.
That they don't like change. And they see it as becoming worse. And that makes a lot of sense to me, right? If you have an okay life, then any change, right? It's the fear of change, pretty much. And the better your life is at the moment, the less change you want. All right, and what is technology? I've already talked about that. Then the principles. Those. What was the principles again? That's what we read yesterday, right? All right. Yeah, here I was critical because usually these principles are vague. Right, like I would say, I use this as an example, but that I feel that runs through the whole text, through all the principles, that what we oppose are the kinds of technologies that are, at root, destructive of human lives and communities. Right? And I'm curious, who would be against technologies that are at the root destructive of human lives and communities, right? This is an opinion, right? Destructive of human lives and communities, that is your opinion. And if you're of the opinion that some sort of technology is destructive to your human life and communities, then you are opposed of that kind of technology, right? So it's kind of, it's not really saying much. And it lets me as the reader decide what this means. Vague, and when they do specify, I tend not to agree with the specifications. Right. Interestingly, they were talking about how they're against ideas. Where are they? Somewhere here, like they were talking about, that's technologies, right? That's more focus on a bigger focus on the tool. This is more, and then there is more focus on the social, political aspects and the worldview aspects. And then they present their view that don't only care about yourself, look at the political aspects of the stuff that you're buying. And I would agree to that. I did that, agreeing to that yesterday, right? That, yeah, take a look at vote with your wallet, right? I've said that a bunch of times, and I will say it a bunch of times more, thousands of times. Vote with your wallet. Like, what are you spending your money at? What thing are you supporting, right? What kind of political thing are you supporting? All technologies are political. Yeah, right? If we look at technologies, all the stuff that we create, all the mass production and whatnot, wherever you spend your time and money is a tiny, tiny political act. Yeah. If you're vehemently against guns, for example, if you don't like guns and you don't think guns should be a part of society, if that is your political view, then don't buy a fucking gun, right? Take that political stance, do it yourself. That it's not like, maybe you do need a gun for whatever reason, but if your politics goes against it, then maybe sometimes let your political opinions take the overhand, right? Personal use on one side, political opinion on the other side. Sometimes let the political opinion take bigger space. Yeah. All right, program for the future. Here we go. This is going to be even more specific, isn't it? Right. As a move towards dealing with the consequences of modern technologies and preventing further destruction of life, we favor the dismantling of the following destructive technologies. Oh, right, here we go. The specificity that I've been asking for. Nuclear technologies, which cause death, disease and death at every stage of the fuel cycle. Where is coal burning? It's not here. Yeah. Nuclear technologies, they don't care about coal burning. Eh? I would go for... Yeah, I would go for the more destructive ones, right? The one that's not even destructive, like harmful for the environment. Nuclear is not that harmful for the environment unless, well... Unless Chernobyl, right? Unless the worst thing happens. But right, the consequence of... I actually saw a video about this recently, so that's Joe Scott, if you know who that is. He pointed out, right, that, well, what will happen if we dismantle nuclear technology? Coal will increase, right? The power, the power that is being used, that are generated by nuclear power at the moment, if you take all those nuclear stuff away, they won't be replaced by solar, wind, water. No, they will be replaced by burning coal. So, long term, I agree with them. Not... I haven't seen any, like, cause disease and death at every stage of the fuel cycle. It's like... I have not seen the evidence of this. I don't even believe it, right? I would need to see the cases of this, right? Compared to coal, this is just not... And the disease and death that it causes is not even close to relevant to the ones of coal. But of course, personally, I would be pro getting rid of as much as nuclear as possible, just because, right? The more you have, the more accidents will happen, and the dangers of disease and death from accidents, right? What if we radiate all the water supply on the planet, right? I mean, that's an extreme example, but it's something that could happen from nuclear technologies, and since it could happen, it is a danger, and I would prefer, like, long term, yeah, use it, have the attitude to have it as little as possible. Not dismantling it, right? There are uses for it, it's just... Yeah. Scope. Let's see, chemical technologies. That's super vague, which repattern natural processes through the creation of synthetic, often poisonous chemicals and leave behind toxic and undisposable wastes. That's just... Are they just saying stop doing chemistry? And that's just dumb, right? There's so much good chemistry going on. Also, when you do chemistry, that is part of nature. It's a natural process. Like antibiotics. That's a natural process that we meddle with. And, right, it started out with penicillin, right? That was very natural. And then we made a synthetic, which is actually synthetic, and all the synthetic stuff is part of nature, right? But if it is, I would assume that they mean that they don't like synthetics, right? They don't like synthetics at all, but there's been so many great uses for synthetics that it's just like as a grand statement, I think this is so misguided, right? They said they aren't against technology as a whole, and then they make this sweeping statement, right? I mean, poisonous chemicals leave behind toxic and undisposable wastes. Yeah, right. So I guess that's probably me misunderstanding. They just give a couple of chemicals. So, alright. Either this is black and white, right? There's two ways to read this. Either they favor the dismantling of the following destructive technologies, right? Where they claim, where their opinions are that all nuclear technologies, all chemical technologies, all genetic engineering, right? Are they claiming all of those? Or are they claiming some of them? Right? And I would say that they claim all of them. That's my interpretation of the text. Because if they only claim some of them, it's like, yeah, then we end up with the same problem as before, right? We're against the chemical technologies that leave poisonous chemicals and toxic indisposable wastes. Yeah, I mean, toxic indisposable waste? Yes, get rid of all that stuff. I'm not against poisonous chemicals like that. I mean, there are uses to poisonous chemicals, and it depends from what perspective you're looking at, right? Right? There are a lot of non-synthetic stuff that is natural, right? You can go out and eat, there's a common mushroom that just grows out here. I can just eat one of those, and that's poisonous and I'll die, right? They're not in favor of dismantling that, right? So just because something is poisonous doesn't mean, or toxic doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad. Right? I don't know what this is, but it sounds bad. Undisposable wastes. That sounds like nuclear again, right? Where there are, like, if you create, like plastic maybe. Yeah, plastic. Here we go. Plastic is a problem. We all, just think about that, right? If you go back 200 years, plastic was not a thing. Yeah, plastic was not really a thing. And now, you can, in every animal on the planet on Earth. Don't quote me on that, but that's what I heard. If you cut them open and look around, you can find plastic. There is plastic everywhere. Well, you can go to any beach, like Ocean Beach, and you will find plastic. But plastic is fucking everywhere now. That's kind of indisposable, right? And it gets filled up, like we get plastic inside our bodies, and it fills up because our body cannot deal with it. It just stays as small. It's like smaller than the eye can see. They break down to their constituent parts, and then they just stick around. And I'm not in favor of dismantling plastic. I'm just... let's do better. Right? Let's not fill the oceans with islands of plastic. That's way more specific than just saying chemical technologies. And that's, again, I reiterate the criticism. Right? I can find an example of this. Right? One example I can find. That's not an argument against chemistry. I don't find that even close to be an argument against chemistry, because I can probably find 100 more examples against chemical technologies, specific ones, but I can probably also find 1,000 examples for chemical technologies, right? Yeah. Also, again, I'm not arguing against plastic, I'm just arguing for taking a step back, like cleaning the shit up, have a proper cycle where this shit doesn't happen, right? Just the creation of technologies I would say that it's not the worldview that plastic is useful. I disagree with the fundamental aspects of this text that says that the worldview that creates plastic is the one that litters the oceans. No, I think that the worldview is that we can just toss stuff away, right? It's about throwing away trash. It's about just tossing out trash wherever we are and not taking care of that. I don't say that comes from chemical technologies. I can't say that comes more from an attitude not even connected to technologies. Actually, and since I have the opposite attitude, I would say that there's a lacking technology, right? Garbage management technologies. Yeah, the worldview, we don't have enough of a worldview of managing garbage and trash. Short-sighted. Yeah. So that's, yeah, I would say that in my mind, this is not like the example I found, the big example I found was not about chemical technologies. It's about trash technologies. Yeah. Alright, genetic engineering technologies, which create dangerous mutagens that, when released into the biosphere, threaten us with unprecedented risks. Alright. This seems like, right, mutagens, right? We're talking about diseases here. Viruses and... Right, they're not talking about, like, seeds, like bananas and fruits and animals, like dogs. Those are genetic engineering technologies, but I'm gonna assume that are not the ones they are talking about. I'm assuming they're talking about biological studying of viruses and bacteria and stuff like that. Create mutagens and stuff like that to try it out. Well, actually, no. Released into the biosphere? Maybe it is. I mean, it's vague again, right? It can be any of these things. Actually, no, it cannot be viruses and stuff like that, because those... they're not really supposed to be released into the biosphere, right? That's not part of the technology, that's not part of why it is done, it's not part of the worldview, so that's not it. So what is it then? Right, I heard, I don't know how true that is, but I heard that, like, the old species of bananas died out. And we had to, like, there is a new genetic engineered banana at the moment. A new species of banana. That's the new big one. I don't know if that's an example. Alright, the assumption here is that they are dangerous, and we don't know before the fact. They can be dangerous, which can create dangerous mutagens that when they get released into the biosphere, they might threaten us with unprecedented risks. Yeah, I mean, there are unprecedented risks anyway, right? That will always happen. I don't know what to think about this. I think that it is very difficult to know, right? What potential dangers exists generations down the line. Like a stagnant, one could argue, right? I heard the argument, actually an interesting argument, that it was just talking about the cooperation between the species. And just asking from an evolutionary standpoint, which animal is the best at cooperating with other species? That is us. Right? That is us. How many animals do we evolutionary work together with? Alright, cows, chickens, dogs, horses, tomatoes, salads, carrots. All these living creatures we have built a symbiotic relationship with. Right? Even though at the moment a lot of people would argue that we're treating especially the cows and the chickens, we're treating them very poorly, right? And I would agree to that. I would see a more friendly approach to the chickens and the cows and whatnot. Yeah, more friendly approach to them at all. But right, we've built a cooperation. And that is kind of genetic engineering in a way, right? Like dogs are genetically engineered to look a certain way. That doesn't really threaten humanity, the dogs. Well, we don't know, right? It might in the future. But what we've seen is that it threatens the dogs, right? There's a lot of dogs that lives in a lot of pain because of genetic, like, bad genetic engineering. And that was unprecedented before we saw them, right? But we have also created a lot of dogs that are, right, that are not a risk for us at all, right? They are less risky, they are less violent, they are friendlier, they like help the blind, they can help with hunting, they can help with, right, all the different stuff. And I would say just because something is risky, that it might contain risks, I don't think these risks outweigh the pros. Right? If you don't want to do something because it might contain an unprecedented risk that, like, taken to the extreme, that would lead you to be completely paralyzed from doing actions, right? Oh, I can't go outside. There are risks out there. Oh, I can't get in the car. Car crashes happen all the time. It's unprecedented to me. I've never been in a car crash, but who knows what will happen? Right? And there are unprecedented risks. What if one of the satellites will just crash and just land in front of me and I will hit it with my car? Therefore, we should not do satellites or cars. It's... right? Again, just to get my reiterate my criticism, the vagueness lets me do whatever interpretation I like here, right? It is so vague, so you can make any interpretation you like. You can find problems and risks, right? Like creating viruses that can wipe humanity out. That's an unprecedented risk. Well, you get my point, right? You can go wherever you like with this. And some risky, some dangerous stuff, I would say, yeah, definitely. Be careful. Maybe don't do all that stuff. Yeah. Maybe don't build nuclear bombs that can destroy humanity 1,000 times over. Because maybe one day that is what will happen, right? There is a risk, but also I don't see it as an argument to just completely dismantle nuclear bombs. I mean, there can be uses to nuclear bombs. What if someone creates a genetic zombie virus and we need to nuke a whole city before the zombie virus spreads? There you go. If we don't have the nuke, then we're fucked. But then their argument is, well, if we didn't do the genetic engineering, then the zombie virus didn't happen. Well, maybe it would have happened without us. It might happen without us, right? I mean, a lot of people think COVID was a big deal, and it is a big deal, don't get me wrong. It's just, it could have been so much worse. Could have been so much worse than it has been. And there will be, right? There will be a disease sometime in the future, right? As long as humanity keeps on living, there will show up a disease that will be way more dangerous. It has happened in the past, and it will happen in the future, right? We can't control that. But having the understanding and study these dangerous viruses and bacteria and whatnot, doing this genetic engineering just to see how they work, that might make us prepared for it, more prepared for it. Right? From what I hear, this vaccine is working pretty good now. Maybe. We'll see in a few years. It's unprecedented risks, but we'll know in a few years, right? Let's say that it just works fine, and it takes a lot of the problem out of this freshly not genetically engineered virus. That is only possible because this groundwork was laid down before, right? Yeah, if we didn't make the groundwork and get the knowledge and have prepared technologies to create vaccines, a lot more people maybe would have died. We don't know yet, right? But without the technologies and factories to create the vaccines, they would never have been created. And good or bad, there's so many good things that comes out of technology, right? We won out against, I've used that before, right? One of the first vaccines, smallpox, right? Smallpox is fucking gone, which is amazing. It's amazing. It just being gone. Right. Television, which functions as a centralized mind-controlling force, disrupts community life and poisons the environment. Oh, wow. I mean, so extreme. So extreme. Like, it's just... they only see one side. Mind-controlling force. I mean, sure, from one perspective, I would have to... I mean, if you want to take that perspective, I'm not gonna say you're wrong. I'm just... to quote the dude, "No, Walter, you're not wrong. You're just an asshole." Actually, that was a paraphrase, not a quote. I don't remember the exact quote. All right. Mind-controlling force. I'm with them that one-way communication, like too much one-way communication, is not good for the mind, I don't think. Yeah. without television, we would not have the internet, two-way communication. I mean, two-way communication, like with monitors, I don't think that's too bad. I mean, I like that. I mean, it's bad that, I mean, actually, should we get rid of the written word as well? The written word functions as a centralized mind-controlling force, don't it, right? Whoever has the printing press, that's a centralized mind-controlling force, because they decide what text to write down. So the written word, the printing press, should we get rid of that? Am I strawmanning, or is it the same logic? To me, it seems like the same kind of logic, but again, it's so fucking vague, right? They just say it's a centralized mind-controlling force, and yeah, the printing press is that as well. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. The vagueness makes me... Yeah, my interpretation is that is what they meant, and that is dumb. Don't get rid of the written word. Don't get rid of the printing press. Yeah. Alright, disrupts community life. Not necessarily bad. Right? Disruptions are just changes. Changes can be good or bad, depending on... Actually, the changes themselves are not good or bad. You can look at a change, a disruptive change to community life, and you can form an opinion if you think it is good or bad. It is not one of those things necessarily, and I would assume that any disruptive stuff, right, like the, I don't know, dismantling of nuclear technologies, that would definitely disrupt community life. You can see that as good as bad if you like. It's not an argument. It's just change happens. And this? What? How? I don't know. I don't understand. How can television poison the environment? Maybe that's... I would argue again, right? If we're talking about poisoning the environment, my interpretation of this, right? It's super fucking vague. Poison the environment how, right? I'm just gonna make an assumption of what they mean. Or actually, I'm just gonna make an interpretation. My interpretation is tech waste, technological waste, e-waste as it's called, because that has been shown, like heavy metals leaking into the environment and whatnot. That's not about television. That's about e-waste. And again, it's about a worldview about trash collection. It's not about plastic, it's not about the television, it's not about the electronics. It's about waste management technologies. So there is a correlation between televisions and plastic and whatnot, and the environmental decline. Or decline, I don't even know if I want to use that word. I don't even know if I want to use the poisons. The heavy metals and whatnot. Stuff that are unhealthy for humans. Right. Stuff that happens that are unhealthy for humans. Yeah. I don't agree with the texts, with my understanding of the text view on that thing. I completely disagree. I see it as a separate problem. Right. Electromagnetic technologies. Wow. Magnets? Oof. Whose radiation alters the natural electrical dynamic of living beings, causing stress and disease. Magnets, how do they work, eh? Alright, Alright. You know what? You know what? You know what? Something that it's time. It is time we blow up the moon. Yeah, it is time we blow up the moon. Yeah, it alters the dynamic of living beings, right? Look at all the women. They bleed. The females, they bleed once every month. We need to blow up the moon. We need to stop this bleeding from happening. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Again, just something changes, change is bad. Oh no, change. And I think that's misguided. Change. Right. What is change? It's movement, it's life. Life changes, right? You go from one day to the next and stuff changes. Today, stuff is different than they were yesterday, right? You're misguided if you want to stick just in yesterday. I mean, as I said,
Fucking chance to breathe. I got a few questions of my own. You ain't dying, he is.
deep breaths. Right, I'm not a traditionalist, and a lot of the traditionalist values I would argue against. This is one of them, yeah. Right, it's just this. I don't even know how to like. All right, let's stop using magnets because they change something, right? Causing stress and disease. It feels like a lot of these stress, disease, death, toxic, they sound made up to me. Where are the references? Right, there are no references. From my understanding of the world, this is just not true from my understanding. So I would need, right? I would need a lot of sources for this to convince me. Yeah. And it's just, I don't know if it's my filter bubble that just misses something or if it just, but I don't see that happening. No. It doesn't make sense to me. And computer technologies, which cause disease and death in their manufacture and use. Manufacture, yes indeed. Alright, maybe that's it. Oh, right. Stress and disease in the Damn it. I got stuck in the tools again. Fuck. It's the creation of and social structures. They cause death and disease. Sure, I have to concede that. Yeah. Right, that was a misunderstanding on my part. Right. But, yeah. Going from here to here, I disagree. You can create electromagnetic technologies and computers without causing death and disease. It is possible, it is not done at the moment, but it is definitely possible. And saying that it's not possible, I don't see how you can make that statement, right? To me, it's just like, of course you can create computers without creating disease and death. Right? Of course you can. So arguing against these technologies, I think is very misguided. I think what one should focus on, right? If you care about this death and disease, then the political focus should not be on the computer. It should be on the political aspects of the current creation, right? I would change the scope of the discourse. Instead of focusing on computer technologies and making a vague jump from this machine that is in front of me to people dying, to instead talk about the mining practices and the social practices of the manufacturing process and those specific bits of the manufacturing process, but because they are the specific bits. Specifically, I think cobalt mining is one of the big problems with the heavy metals and the minerals like a lot of the mining is a big problem, right? With disease and death. Right. And that mining does not have to be used in electromagnetic technologies or computer technologies. I mean, it might be used somewhere else, right? Go back 100 years, there was a lot of mining that caused a lot of disease and death. And they were not necessarily for electromagnetic or computer technologies, right? So, yeah, I think this is very misguided, yeah. Alright, which cause disease and death in their manufacture and use. Enhance centralized political power. That's just not true. And remove people from direct experience of life. And that's just not true. Yeah, these are, from my perspective, they are false. I would say that computers do both. Sure, the manufacturers become centralized, right? We do have Intel, but now we have AMD as well doing a big thing, and we're getting towards ARM, and one can hope, what's that called? The ARM 5, the open source one. That would be, right? There are people who do computer technologies that are where the focus is decentralized power. What about money? The coins, right? The cryptocurrencies. They enhance decentralized monetary power, and I would assume that monetary power, they would see that as political power as well. Right? So it does both things. And we have, like, if knowledge is power, we can go to my favorite. Alright, hello world. Go to my favorite page. If knowledge is power, knowledge has been decentralized. So, yeah, I completely disagree with this. I understand that it can be used, and it is being used for a lot of situations to centralize power as well, right? Take all the what's that? They're looking at everybody, right? The spyware. Yeah, all the spying on all the people. Data collection. There we go. Take all the data collection. That is very centralized at the moment. Google collects all the data, right? But it doesn't have to be that way, right? There's a lot of computer technologies that comes from the worldview of an open source way. And I'm like, I'm way for that, yeah. Sure, do all the data collection, but do it from a public, in the public domain. Have all the data be in the public domain, right? That's a simple switch to make. That's a switch, different attitude, right? You don't have to wreck and tear down computer technologies. You just have to iterate and change it a little bit to make it a little bit better, right? Because then it is decentralized, right? If the data collection is in the public domain, then it is decentralized political power because the data is accessible to everyone. Yeah. And I'm having a real experience, direct experience of life right now in front of my computer. I mean, I am living. I'm having an experience. It is happening directly in my mind. Yeah, that's just dumb. That's a dumb example. They just want people to go outside, is that it? They want people to go outside? Fuck the outside. I'm allergic to the outside, so fuck the outside. I don't know. Alright. Technology by and for the people. 2. Wait, what was 1? Alright, that was a program for the future. Alright, I think I disagreed with all of them. In a way, right? in a way, right? Up here, these two I'm probably the closest to agree with, but again, from my interpretation, there are some stuff that take a deep breath. Think about what you're doing. And yeah, the biggest one from me that I took from here, it's not even here. It's a technology that I would see instead of, like, again, right? I've said that a bunch of times. I'm not really impressed by people who wants to dismantle and destroy stuff. That is literally destructive. You want to destroy, right? Dismantle. You want to destroy these technologies. That is what the argument is coming from, and that does not really impress me. Instead, a program for the future, right? Show us how to deal with all this trash, all this plastic, right? Build something instead of destroy something. Yeah. Does not impress me. Alright, technology by and for the people. Here we go. Building something. Nice, I like that. First, and I guess that's fine, right? This is all trash, instead do this. I think that is fine, if that is in fact where we're gonna end up. Right, we favor search for new technological forms. As political scientist Langdon Winner advocates in autonomous technology, we favor the creation of technologies by the people directly involved in their use. Not by scientists, engineers, and entrepreneurs who gains financially from the mass production and distribution of their inventors, and who know little about the context in which their technologies are used. Is this an open source argument? It kind of sounds like an open source argument, doesn't it? I should be in control of my technologies. And we had that yesterday, the day before yesterday, I think. I made the argument, right, that, well, that it was a tangent, but like a society like fully autonomous technology, right, where all the recipes, schematics, 3D printers, right? We have a lot of 3D printers in all the homes, and ship raw materials to individuals. That would be the greatest, right? That would be the greatest, where all the stuff that you need are crafted in your own home. That would, I mean, that's very utopian. Sure, so a focus on 3D printers, and well, like, they don't say anything about open source, but open source schematics and instructions to the 3D printers. Alright, but here we go with the broad definition of technology that they talk about, right? We do have a broad definition, right? The social structures and the how to make the things, right? Who are the people who figure out technology? These are the people who create it the first time, right? Someone has to figure out how to make something the first time. I mean, the whole point of mass production is to produce for the masses, right? So these people figure out how it is made, and then they start shipping it out to the masses, right? For the people, right? And if it is all autonomous, right? If we all have 3D printers, that is fucking great. But right, everybody cannot be a scientist, engineer, and entrepreneur. Right? Is that what they're arguing for? Everybody should just be the same. Everybody should be a scientist, engineer, and an entrepreneur. Right? Directly involved at the creation of the technology. Right? If I'm supposed to be using a computer, do I have to have the knowledge of how a computer is made? Do I have to have access to all the machinery it takes to create a computer? I mean, from a utopian point of view, I mean, it would be great to have all those things in my home. I would love to have all those things. I would love to have a machine that can create a CPU for me in my own home, and the only thing I need is the raw resources. That would be the greatest, yeah. And definitely I see that is an attitude politically that I would like moving towards. Yeah, let's make that interpretation. It won't happen in my lifetime or in the next, but that is a goal to have, a worthwhile goal to have. But that does not, even if we are in that situation, we have scientists, engineers, entrepreneurs to create the schematics, right? The instruction sets for the 3D printers. Data scientists and engineers and whatnot. Right? Open source. We have people that create this stuff, and then we have people that use the stuff. It's collaboration, right? Collaboration between humans. I do something that is good for the rest of society, and you do something that is good for the rest of society. I take advantage of the thing that you did, you take advantage of the thing that I did. Collaboration. We help each other out. Some people will do science, engineering, and entrepreneurship. And that's fine. I'm actually for this. They know little about the context in which their technologies are used. Yeah. Right? After I've created a recipe, right? I should no longer be in control of, right? Let's say I create, yeah, let's take food, for example. I make a dish. Then I publish said dish on the internet. People find it and start using said dish. I should not have any say in what they do with it, right? If they use this dish to smash it into, like, let's say it's a cake of some sort, like a pie. They just lift it up and smash it in someone's face for a TV skit. I should not... I don't think that I should have any authority to tell them no. Right? They just create the tool, right? That's their part of the technology. They create the knowledge of how the tool is made. How it is used is up to the user. The user is doing the using. Yeah. Alright, we favor the creation of technologies that are of a scale and structure that make them understandable to the people who use them and are affected by them. Oh, they actually are saying that. Wow, alright. We favor the creation of technologies built in a high degree of flexibility so they do not impose a rigid and irreversible imprint on their users. We favor the creation of technologies that fosters independence from technological addiction and promise political freedom, economic justice, and ecological balance. Oh wow. Now we're become super fucking vague again. Alright, so no housing. We cannot build houses anymore. That's what I see here, right? Yeah. You cannot build houses anymore. You have to build your own house. Right, the argument is not... It's not even just buy a house. That's not argument again, anymore. Are you homeless? Just build a house. Can you imagine... Right, if this is the case, right, if no technology is allowed to be made that everybody does not understand, how much time we would have to spend in school. And also, this does not take account that people are different, right? What if I understand how a computer is made, and I can build a computer myself? And I can build a network. I can build a network of computers. No, they are actually arguing this, right? Well, no, that's probably a straw man, right? I understand how this table works, but I cannot build a table. Right? Yeah. Right. But I can understand how a computer works. I can understand how the internet works, right? Where do you draw the line? Well, internet, well, let's say that you know nothing about the internet, and now I tell you, right, internet sends digital data back and forth between computers. Boom, you understand how it works. Yeah, right? I just made internet understandable. As long as you speak English, you can understand that. Right? So it's understandable. Right, we favor the creation of technologies built with a high degree of flexibility so they don't impose a rigid and irreversible imprint on their users. Yeah, that is what made me think of a house, right? If I live in a house, that's kind of a rigid and irreversible imprint on the user. I mean, I don't want to live outdoors anymore, right? I am addicted to housing. Yeah. And therefore I am not politically free. Sure, but I don't understand this, right? I understand how a house works. I cannot build a house myself. And I am addicted to living in a house. How can you solve this? And then there's a couple of buzzwords: political freedom, economic justice, and ecological balance. I mean, sure, buzzwords. Everybody loves that. Political freedom, economic justice, and ecological balance. Oh man, I love that stuff. Who doesn't? Alright, 3. We favor the creation of technologies in which politics, morality, ecology, and techniques are merged for the benefit of life on Earth. What life on Earth? Alright, community-based energy sources utilizing solar, wind, and water technologies. Oh, I'm all for those, yeah, I like that. Which are renewable and enhance both community relations and respect for nature. Except for, like, if you have a lot of solar and a bird flies through and they just get smashed to pieces. Not really respecting nature, aren't they? And they are very loud, right? The wind technologies, they are very loud. So there are a lot of animals that just stay the fuck away. They can't be there anymore. Alright, solar, it takes a lot of space that could have been respecting of nature and just left it to be jungle, forests, whatever. But no, we cut them down and made solar plants. I hope you see my point that there's a flip coin to all of these, right? Water technologies, right? You need to build a dam. And you ruined the natural flow of the river. Or whatever, right? It is... I like all of these things. I think they are great. Solar, wind, water. I think we should build more of them. Yeah, sure, yeah, more of them. Decentralize them all over the place. Let's have everybody keep... Oh, fuck, no, that won't work. We can't have solar panels on our roofs. Because people don't understand how they work. Can't have that on my house. I need to be able to build a solar panel myself. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Yeah, I think all of these are great, not for this argument. Yeah. I think they are great for humanity. And that is what matters. Yeah, human-centric. I don't mind a human-centric technology focus. Like, not at all. The thing is, what is good for the rest of the ecosystem is good for us. If we screw up the ecosystem, that is bad for us. We don't have to respect the rest of the thing. Like, as far as I understand, ticks don't really help. Yeah. I wouldn't mind doing genocide on ticks. Fuck those fuckers. Yeah. And there are new inventions, new technologies that don't respect nature. Where you put them in your backyard and they take a huge fucking area, right? Around your house and like beyond, like a big fucking area, and just kills all the mosquitoes in a huge area around your house. So you're just free of mosquitoes. And I think that's great. I think that's great. Someone said, well, then you're stealing all the mosquitoes from the birds and whatnot. And I say, well, fuck the birds. If the birds ate the mosquitoes, I would not be in the situation where I felt that I would have to kill all the mosquitoes myself. If the birds did their job, yeah, they can get the fuck out, yeah. Yeah, they're not doing their job, so, right? If they live in my backyard and they don't do their job, they can fucking move. Yeah. I don't mind a human-centric view on this. Just because I eliminate all these mosquitoes doesn't mean that I eradicate all of the mosquitoes, right? All of their food. There's a forest, just like... Yeah. Just outside of the range of that machine. They can go to the forest and hunt. Yeah. Alright, what more do we have? Organic biological technologies in agriculture, engineering, architecture, art, medicine, transportation and defense, which derive directly from natural models and systems. Wait. This is again super vague, right? They want organic. Isn't that biological technologies? Do you know how we create organic biological technologies? We do it through chemistry. Yeah, chemistry. That is how we do that thing. Engineering, architecture, art, medicine, transportation, and defense, which derive directly from natural models and systems. Yeah, they all do, right? All technology is derived from our scientific understanding of nature. Right? All of them, even the synthetics. We gain an understanding and make a model of how does this thing work, and then we build something out of it. I mean, chemistry is a great example of that, right? We create what are they called? Not atomic, but when you take atoms and put them together in structures, you build those models and you figure out what they do, and you derive, oh, what if we change stuff around or make them do that for us? The systems. Isn't that like all technology? I'm confused. Right, conflict resolution technologies. Emphasize cooperation, understanding, and continuity of relationship. I like that. Like, I don't know, like cooperation, like networks and computers. Those are great for cooperation, right? We can send the information back and forth between you and me, and information. We can understand each other. We can use translation tools that exists on the internet to translate this and that. We can send emails back and forth. We can be in direct contact through phones, right? Continuity of relationships. Yeah, two-way communication. I like those things, sure. I don't know, conflict resolution technologies? That sounds... I don't know what that would look like. Conflict resolution technology. I guess like stuff like self-help YouTube videos. Is that conflict resolution technologies, right? Right. Decentralized social technologies, which encourage participation, responsibility, and empowerment. Yeah, I like that. Again, the internet. I heard that argument, right? There is a different way to do social media than what we do today. Instead of doing it in central platforms like Twitter and Facebook and whatnot, you can just have your own blog, your own website. Right? You can host it yourself. That could be easily be created, right? Easily. Only thing, yeah, you need to keep your computer up and running. And you can host your own website. It doesn't have to be up 100% of the time, right? You can have it on your phone. If your phone is on all the time, you can have your feed there. And people could use RSS to make their own wall. I don't remember what it's called. Their own scrolly thing, right? It actually doesn't even take a lot of work to create that. Actually, I think that already exists. Isn't Mastodon like that? I think Mastodon is like that. And it's a tool that is meant for doing specifically that, I mean. And I'm all for that, yeah. Take responsibility of your own filter bubble, right? Instead of letting someone else control your filter bubble. Right? It's vague again, right? So I don't know. This is just me reading something in. It could be social technologies. Maybe they mean that we should have buses, cars, meeting places, like coffee shops. That's social technology, right? I don't know, right? They could mean anything. All right, and number 4, we favor the development of a life-enhancing worldview in Western technological societies. Western. Right, life-enhancing worldview. Implying that that is not present. I like to enhance my life. I like to enhance your life. You don't even have to live in the Western technological societies, right? Like wherever you are. Yeah, wherever you are. All the stuff, all the political stuff I want to have to enhance my life and your life. And I think that's anyone who has political opinions have this, right? Life-enhancing worldview. I mean, some are more inclusive than others, right? Mine is more inclusive than this text, right? I care about the global societies, not just the Western ones. But also, I can understand, right? Focus at home as well, right? I care more about the stuff that's in my own backyard than the stuff that's on the other side of the planet. Of course, that makes sense.
Just breathe.
Because it's closer to home, to my life, and enhancing my life. And then there's everybody else's lives. I care more about my neighbor because my neighbor might have a bigger impact on my life. Well, it's not even that. No, I think maybe People that I care more about than people that I don't care about. Let's just put it that way. Distance. And we hope to instill a perception of life, death, and human potential into technological societies that will integrate the human need for creative expression, spiritual experience, and community with the capacity for rational thought and functionality. I mean, as I see it, these things can be improved. They can always be improved, but the text kind of seems to imply that these things are not here. But they are. In my society, anyway, where I live, in my context, these things are definitely here. They can be better. Right. We perceive the human role not as the dominator of other species and planetary biology, but as integrated into the natural world with appreciation for the sacredness of all life. Sacredness? What does that even mean? What does sacred mean? Alright. Sacred. Right. Dedicated or set apart for the service or worship of a deity. Alright. Devoted exclusively to one service or use. Worthy of religious veneration, entitled to reverence and respect. I guess they mean this, since they haven't talked about religious stuff, and all those have been religious. So, entitled to? Fuck that. Yeah, just fuck that. Yeah. Sacredness of all life. You know what? Right. If there was a spider in here that were aggressive, a poisonous spider, fuck that spider. There is nothing sacred. The ticks? Yeah. Fuck all ticks. They are not sacred. Burn them all. Elephants? Oh, they're amazing. I love those. I appreciate elephants. But all life? What about cancer cells? They are alive. Are they sacred? No, fuck the cancer cells. And they are part of my life. Well, I don't have cancer, but when I do get cancer in the future, right? Those will be part of my body and my life. That is how it works, right? They just stop working with the rest of the body and they make their own shit. That is not sacred. Fuck that. Fuck that idea, just in general. But yeah, I agree with the part like we are off the natural world, right? Thinking that somehow humans are not part of the natural world is weird. It's weird. Of course, we're part of this planet. We all share this planet with all other life. I mean, that is true in my book, right? That is what we do. That is how we live. But yeah, and I don't need to see us as a dominator, but I don't mind a human-centric view. Right? That kind of makes sense to me, right? The point of the human race is to improve the life of the human race first and foremost, right? We can do that through helping other animals and plants that help us, right? Some stuff are good for us, some stuff are bad for us, right? That we can agree with. Ticks, for example, are bad for us. Not 100%, right? There is a cycle to the thing, right? But 99% of all species that have ever lived have died out. Or so I hear. I don't know how true that number is, but it is a high number, right? They all fucking die. Or they die or evolve. That's it. They die or evolve and adapt. Not everybody evolve, no. Evolve, adapt, or die. But then they evolved into be adaptive. So, and we humans are fairly adaptive. Where we can't adapt ourselves, well, we're started to flip that on its head, right? Instead of we adapting to our environment, we adapt our environment to us. And I mean, with that knowledge came that power. And yeah, use the power, right? That has so far made us successful, and I would concede that there are a lot of unknown dangers into the future, and we should do our best to, like, not screw a lot of stuff up as a species. But we should use our strengths to do it. Yeah. We shouldn't just... Well, maybe our strength is war, so maybe we should just destroy a lot of stuff, because that is our strength. Just destroy all the technologies. It's not impressive to me. I would like to see not a destructive future, personally. I mean, if we look at the sacredness of all life, right? If we are indeed living in the 6th mass extinction, then we are the 6th mass extinction. And if the sacredness of all life is a thing, then, yeah, nuking humanity back into the Stone Ages, that's a good idea, right? If you don't have a human-centric view, then yeah, nuke all the cities. All of them. Just right now. If you don't have a human-centric view, that is what would make sense. Smash all the technologies and all the people with the technologies. And that doesn't seem helpful to me. Yeah, it doesn't seem helpful. Isn't that the extreme end of this neo-Luddism? Blow up all the cities. Right? Because there's like a comparison, right? When you say all life, what life I say, right? Chaos for the fly is just lunch for the spider. It's all a matter of perspective. And I think this perspective is dumb, because I think a human-centric perspective on technology just makes all the sense. Right. We foresee a sustainable future for humanity if and when Western technological societies restructure their mechanistic projections and foster the creation of machines, techniques, and social organizations that respect both human dignity and nature's wholeness. Human dignity? What does dignity mean? Dignity. Fuck that as well, maybe? Formal reserve or seriousness of manner, appearance, or language. The quality or state of being worthy, honored, or esteemed. Being worthy, honored, or esteemed. High rank, legal title, nobility. Formality? I don't think that doesn't make sense. It seems like we're talking about sacredness, dignity and sacredness again, right? Worthy, honored, esteemed. I would say, well, fuck that. Human dignity, I mean... I guess... No, I don't get it. Human... Alright. Maybe it is just like what we are like when we are at our best from their point of view, and respect that and be that, I suppose. Maybe that is the interpretation. Alright, in progressing towards such a transition, we are aware we have nothing to lose except a way of living that leads to the destruction of all life, we have a world to gain. Alright. We, humans, have a world to gain, but we're not supposed to be the sole people to, right? And also leads to this destruction of all life. I mean, you don't know that. You cannot know that. Also, all life, that's... I mean, they're arguing for not to have a human-centric view. And I mean, life on the planet is probably gonna be fine. Yeah. Life on the planet will probably be fine. It's seen way worse than us. Yep, it's seen way worse than us. So, I mean, I'm not even convinced that we will be able to wipe out humanity, right? That humanity, right? If we decided to and really tried to wipe out humanity, we probably could, right? Well, of course we could, right? If everybody agreed and just... we gave everybody a gun and just said 3, 2, 1, go. If everybody agreed, but everybody will not agree. Most people do not want the destruction of the human race, right? Most people don't want that. And I don't see, right, us being capable in... well, I guess in the future. In the future, the capability of the destruction of humanity will probably exist. I mean, it exists today, but it would take so much organization that it's not possible. But, like technology, right? We're talking about, yeah, that technology does not exist today. It might exist in the future. But I don't know. That it seems like just fancy rhetorics. They're trying to be extreme. This just sounds vague and magical to me. Yeah, vague and magical. A lot of buzzwordy stuff in this thing. Yeah. All right. As a rhetorical text, it's a pretty good text. I'll give him that. Right. As a rhetorical text, there's a lot of fancy tricks. There are a lot of fancy tricks in this text. Rhetorical tricks, yeah. Right, and it feels quite convincing. And I think that... I think the attitude as a neo-Luddite... right? I think neo-Luddism as a political movement is probably, from my opinion, right, probably good for politics, yeah, for social politics as a voice to be heard. I think it's very misguided in a lot of places, but I think they get to the crux of... I think it is a good approach to traditionalism. Yeah. And I think like, I'm not a traditionalist, but I think traditionalism has value, right? There's a lot of stuff I don't agree with, and I would want to see, like, a lot of my opinions would tend to disagree with them, but it has a lot of value. Yeah. And I think, yeah, this is as an approach to traditionalism, it's a good one. And I think, like, it's a very rhetorical text, and that's what I said, like, early on, right? Early on, I said, just make it into rhetorics, right? It's about convincing people. It's not about smashing machines. It's about convincing people, and that, I think a lot of people reading this text will take a step towards traditionalism. I mean, my current state of mind, since I've just read it, has taken a step towards a little bit more traditionalism, right? Seeing the value in it. I think, though, that the bad things were the vagueness of the text. It really was off-putting for me. when I first noticed it. After that, I noticed it over and over and over again. That's right. I mean, maybe if I read the start again, I will just get pissed. So I won't do that, right? I can just get pissed because I got allowed to interpret it however I wanted to, the text, right? Yeah. I like more logos in my rhetorics. Yeah. And the thing that bothered me the most was some of the statements, right? Some of the claims were very extreme, very out there, that did not fit with my understanding of the world, like, at all. And those extreme statements, I would need... Yeah. But extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. That's what I would say, yeah. Something like that. Yeah. Like this. Sacredness of all life. Fuck that. They were saying, right, all the poison and the toxins and the disease and death and the whatnot, it's... I mean... Life causes disease and death, so... Maybe the answer to all of these things is just to get rid of all life. Maybe that should be the goal. The destruction of all life. Right? Think of all the disease and death. Right? Just look at this. The solar system, right? Oh, right. There's a picture. I know that. Number, deaths, solar system, planets. I wonder if that's gonna be... I can find that image. Is that it? No. Right, but there is one of these that just counts the number of deaths, and it's 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and then all of them. Like billions and billions and billions of disease and death and suffering and all that stuff. So, right. One consequence of reading this text is just to blow up the planet. Destroy all life on this planet. Just destroy all of it. Right. That's one reading of it. And I don't think that's very helpful, yeah. I'm not a... I don't even remember what it's called. But there is like an idea that everything should just die because everything suffers. Life is suffering, therefore life should end. Yeah. I think that's quite boring. Right. As I say, I'm not very impressed with destructive stuff. I'd like to reduce the suffering through building and iterating and making improvements. That's what I like, yeah. Alright, but I think that is it for today. I think tomorrow we start reading Modest Proposal. I've read this once before, so I don't know if I'll read... It's kind of long, isn't it? And it's more entertainment nowadays than actual politics, but I suppose it was requested, so I'll read it. Yeah. Alright, so thanks for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed the Neo-Luddism as much as I did, yeah. Have a good one and see you next time. Cheers.